So my name is Daniela Tully. I'm German, so I'm sure you can hear from my accent. I'm married to an American. I write in English, and I've lived now in Dubai with a little break in between since 2009. When I said I write in English, I'm a novelist. My first novel came out 3 years ago called Hotel on Shadow Lake. And I also teach film and writing at the Middlesex University. I think book clubs are very important, especially these days during the pandemic, because it's still the nicest way to travel anywhere in the world, to any country, into anyone's mind. First of all, reading anyway. I mean, for me, the whole world of storytelling is a treasure for me, no matter if it's film or books. But of course, if you dive into a book, you get the amazing chance to live within that character's mind and learn so much from that character. And I think book club is the nicest way to then have everyone come together. For me, for example, both as a writer and as a reader, book club meetings are for me the most crucial one, because you get to a stage where opinions are shared that usually maybe wouldn't be shared, and you start questioning things that maybe you have perceived very differently. And I think this is also the best way to combat prejudices, because you do get someone else's point of view firsthand, and you can only get that in book clubs. Not even a film. Nobody stays really after watching a film in a movie theater. A book club is really something where you have that platform to discuss a character and why or why not you loved him or her. A lot of times I get asked the question, what is the difference between script writing and novel writing? Or in general, what is the difference between the film world and the novel world? So let me first talk a little bit about the similarities. So since I come from a film background, my writing is very visual. So I am also a plot-driven writer. Obviously, characters are always crucial and very important, and that you have a character you can identify with. Novel writing, of course, gives you that luxury that you can dive into the character, give interior monologue, stream of conscience. It's also in my writing, but it's much more visual than it is, for example, than the style of some other author. So when I write it as already for the locations. I often, for example, in my workshops about writing, I have one whole session about the power of images and how images can guide you. So, for example, I often writers always get inspired by so many different things, like personal experiences, a childhood experience, a childhood trauma, another character. For me, it often is also just by locations. For example, in my first book, a hotel is a very crucial one. It's called Mohawk. It's in upstate New York. It looks like Hogwarts out of Harry Potter. And when I went there for the first time, or my husband took me there for the first time, when I met his parents for the first time, he took me up to that hotel, and I said, I wanna set a novel here, because it was a place out of this world. So during the pandemic, books became even more important to me than they were already. And I think a lot of people shared that sentiment of actually sitting. Well, we also were given, in a way, time again to dive into books in a different way. So aside from reading some of the most recent new books that came out, for example, by Lisa Jewell or Ruth Ware, because my latest book that I'm actually handing it in next week to publishers, which is also a thriller, so it's different from my own that is historical fiction. I also revisit some older books. One of them was Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. And reading that in light of the pandemic was, how can I put it? I mean, it felt all of a sudden so much closer to me and where I was than it ever was when I read it in school. So that was something that I reread. I also reread Ira Levin's, the same guy who wrote Rosemary's Baby, The Boys of Brazil. I reread A Kiss Before Dying. Old, really classics of something where you say, this, for example, is a story that you could have never ever adapted to a film. It's impossible because of this a twist that he invented, I would say, together maybe with Agatha Christie. But it was something that was, for me, something very special to pick up old classics again and read them in a new light. So I would definitely recommend doing something like that, or reading 1984. It's also very tough doing that right now, yeah, because of course our world has changed in so many ways in the past year and this year. So yeah, I would definitely recommend getting out the old classics again, because I think it also changed us so much in a way that we automatically look at them in a completely different light. I'm very sure that if I had read Brave New World or 1984 right before the pandemic, I would have understood and perceived it in a very different way than I do it now.